Don't worry, I'm not leaving Fuji. I'm not saying goodbye to Fuji, but I do have something interesting to share about the Fujifilm X-H1. Just a disclaimer, this is a speculation video about a product. If you do have any questions or complaints or whatever, put them in the comments below. I'll respond to you as soon as I can. So it seems like the rumor about the X-T4 is pretty solid. We're going to have higher resolution. The rumor is 6K 60 frames per second. That's pretty exciting. It's going to have IBIS. Plus there's a pretty solid rumor that they're going to have a flip out screen. This is going to be a video beast. It's going to take on the likes of Sony pretty aggressively. It's going to take on the likes of the EOS R very aggressively. I mean, spec for spec, it's just going to be better than the EOS R. And it's going to be better than my X-H1, and anything that they can bring out from here on in, it's going to compete with its X-H1 so aggressively that I believe it's time to say goodbye to the X-H1, sadly. So here's a little bit of history. I'll put the researched stuff on the screen as I speak, but I'm going to give you the general broad strokes. The X-T2 was Fujifilm's huge leap forward to becoming a more competitive camera and starting to show signs that they could do video. They upgraded the X-T2's video capabilities just before they released the X-H1. Many guys were asking, why must I buy the X-H1 when they just made my X-T2 a video beast? That being said, the X-H1 did have a lot of things over and above the X-T2, things like being able to choose your bit rates. This goes all the way to 200 megabits per second in 4K, which is better than a lot of the competitors, so that was nice. And a great form factor for video, a nice solid grip. It had IBIS, and so straight at the point of release of the X-H1, they made the X-T2 more competitive against their own product. So it was a bit of a strange launch, having a wonderful camera being launched, but upgrading the old camera to compete with it. So that was already a rough start for the X-H1, and I don't think it's something Fuji really anticipated, because they had already put quite a lot into the X-H1 to make it better than the X-T2. But a bigger aspect of that is that the YouTube universe didn't take very well to the X-H1. And YouTube, I think manufacturers are starting to realize now, but they underestimated the power of reviewers and how much their opinion counts in the market. And so guys weren't very impressed with the X-H1. It came around the time of the A7 III. The A7 III was full frame. Everybody was crazy about full frame. The A7 III also came with slow motion video, a whole lot of video features in the A7 III, that's the Sony. And so it came into the market at quite a difficult time for a small camera company to try and compete. And Sony had just great marketing, and it was difficult for this camera to compete. There were also little things like guys weren't accustomed to the way Fuji do their dials, and it's just, you know, as a Sony or Canon user, to take this camera and be impressed was difficult because it's a whole different way of thinking. And if you don't understand the Fuji X system, it's difficult to pick this up for a week and make a review and think it's amazing. Even though, as you know, if you look at my videos, I really believe that this was a wonderful camera. And
my life has changed.
But I like this. I like this camera. I like the extra large icon. And it's something that I'm making this video, quite sadly, having thought it through and realizing I don't think there's going to be a successor to the X-H1. And then to explain when I purchased this in terms of pricing around that time, guys were comparing this camera to the A7 III, the Sony. Now, in terms of pricing, the A7 III was just way more expensive, and that's what made this so attractive to me. I was interested in the Sony a6500, which was a lovely camera with IBIS as well, but the Fuji outspec'd it at a lower price, and I went for the Fuji. But also, one of the huge things and what people are starting to realize with Fuji is the color is just exceptional. That being said, very shortly, about a year after this was released, the X-T3 came out with incredible video features. The market was just right for the X-T3. The A7 III was getting old. There wasn't really much in the market to compete with the X-T3 except for Sony's old cameras and the EOS R. The X-T3 has the same beautiful color, a more compact design, higher bit rates, 4K 60 frames per second. It out-spec'd this camera in almost every area. It had a better screen, better autofocus, a better processor inside the camera. And so after being on the market for about a year, I'll put the specifics on the screen. But the X-H1 just didn't get a chance to see the light of day. And they dropped the price drastically and pretty much sold out worldwide. There's just a few at the moment. And that pretty much concludes the lifespan of the X-H1 and brings us to today, where with the X-H1 kind of introducing to the world to the idea that Fujifilm is making video cameras, and then the X-T3 really kind of gaining traction for Fuji. And now people understand that Fuji has great color, is pushing for great features. It's a lovely camera to use in your personal time. It's a fun camera to use. And now is the time that Fuji is going to release the X-T4. And I feel like the whole market is ready for Fuji to bring out a camera that does everything that a camera needs to do. I know that sounds like high praise, but you know, with 6K, with IBIS, with a flip out screen, it kind of ticks all the right boxes for video and photo. And now they need to know that the next thing they bring out is going to be a success. And they know the X-T4 is going to be a success. To bring out a model, a successor to this, that is pretty much going to have the same specs as the X-T4. The only really direction I see them going with this is maybe a full-blown video camera, a cinema camera, which doesn't make any sense. And then they've got the GFX line, which is medium formats. Fuji have chosen not to do film frame at all and develop solid technology in the media format side. I feel like they would rather spend R&D in developing the video on their GFX as a very hectic video camera for the future, and keep the X-T4 as the solid contender against all the other brands currently. You know, there's such a strong chance that the X-T4 is going to cannibalize the X-H2, because you know, there's already a market awareness about the X-T3. People all over the world are excited about an X-T4 coming out with better specs. All the little things that they like about their Canon. Maybe a Canon user is thinking about switching, but he wants a flip out screen. All those things are going to be addressed in the X-T4. Guys are going to switch to Fuji for that reason. Why on earth would they want to bring out a camera that is going to sell badly and is just going to service a small niche group of people like myself? So, you know, it's kind of with a heavy heart that I say, I think the X-H2 is not going to happen. I think the X-H1 is a one of a kind and it's never going to happen again. So I'm most likely going to keep this and hopefully get the X-T4 one day. But maybe it's for the best. You know, Fujifilm, the thing that people have always loved about Fujifilm with the X Pro series and the XT series is that retro styling. The X-T30 I'm filming on right now looks like a film camera. When I take it on holiday, it looks like I've got an old camera with me. I look like a tourist. I blend in. That's one of the great things about Fuji, is just that aesthetic, that retro feel, and the X-T4 is going to retain a lot of that. And I think that's what people are going to love about it. It's what's going to get it into the mainstream as a sort of offbeat, brilliant camera. So maybe it's for the best. We'll see what happens. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and then I'll happily get the X-H2. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like this video. Please share it around, share it with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.